from her of it, but not attached.
I've seen those. 5:31, so I would like to call to order the Thursday, July 27th, 2023 Board of Directors and the meeting. Cassidy, would you take roll call?
Yes. Mike Bullen.
Here.
Julie O's.
Here.
Shelby Poole. Brian Sheik.
Here.
Jolene Squirtle.
Here.
Nicole Stevens. Here. Patrick Olmuth.
Yep.
And Rich Washington.
Here.
And Ryan, would you please read our mission and vision?
Absolutely. The mission of WLA is to utilize leadership-based programs and strategies grounded in solid research, combined with the demonstrated success of core knowledge curriculum as a basis of a rigorous overall educational program that builds strong skills in math, reading, literature, writing, music, science, and technology. Oh, B2, sorry. The vision of WLA is to be a school where students and graduates become exceptional leaders and are prepared to take on the academic and leadership challenges they will face in high school and beyond.
Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 3.1, approval of meeting agenda. Would someone like to make a motion?
I will do that.
I'll make an amendment to the agenda.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to approve the meeting agenda.
I would like to make an
No.
amendment.
Oh, amendment. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
So I'll recall my motion there.
Okay.
No, it's just the Governor's Committee report, item 6.1, has Ryan Washington on there.
Oh,
my gosh.
It should be Rich
Thank you.
Washington.
Apologies.
That's all.
Oh.
Cassidy will make those due changes.
Yes, that was my first time with the agenda.
Perfect, perfect. All right. Then again, I'd like to move to agenda item 3.1 for approval of meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved with that name change.
A second?
Second motion.
All right. Cassidy, would you take a roll call vote?
Mike Bullen.
Yes.
Julie O's.
Yep.
Shelby Poole. Brian Sheik.
Yes.
Jolene Squirtle.
Yes.
Nicole Stevens. Yes. Patrick Olmuth.
Yes.
And Rich Washington.
And the motion passes. Item 3.2, approval of June 22nd, 2023 meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
I'll move it again.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to approve the June 22nd, 2023 meeting minutes. Cassidy, would you take a vote?
Mike Bullen.
Yes.
Julie O's.
Yes.
Brian Sheik.
Yes.
Jolene Squirtle.
Yes.
Nicole Stevens. Yes. Patrick Olmuth.
Yes.
Rich Washington.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item 4, conflict of interest. Is there any conflict of interest declaration for tonight's meeting? No? Okay. Item 5.1. No, there are no public comments, so we will pass on to item number 6, board and administration reports. I don't believe I have a board report in my hand. I am running the meeting tonight as I am the last remaining sitting board person. Officer, thank you. Shelby is on a lovely vacation, so that will be your board report. Okay, item 6.2, director report by Dr. Mortensen.
All right, thank you. Just some highlights. You can see that our ADM for the coming year, it looks like it's about 768. You can see that we have wait lists. It fluctuates a little bit each day, but K2, 3, 4, 6, and 7 are all just starting waiting lists. We do still have openings in grades 1, 5, and 8. So we're in very good shape. And I believe that when Dustin gives the budget finance report, that I think we based the budget on, maybe you remember, was it 744? So
I don't
somewhere
remember.
thereabouts,
to
but
be honest with
we're in good shape there. As we jump down to instructional leadership, not a lot going on in July, which is why this report is short, but I did want to point out that we had our A-team advance. I met with the leadership team. Some of what I think are the really important pieces are taking time to revisit the mission and vision, the history and founding of Woodbury leadership, our strategic plan, and how those goals need to guide us as leaders that are guiding all of the rest of the stakeholders. We looked, I think, rather deeply into core knowledge, leadership, is really an interesting thing. When we went through all the merger debates and stuff over this last year, one thing that was just loud and clear to me, two things, I guess, were that people really, our stakeholders, our parents really love our school. And the other thing is they really love the leadership component. So how do we better develop that, which is something that you've been kind of pushing for years. But, you know, it says leadership on our building. It doesn't say core knowledge, it says leadership. And so we really spent some time digging into that. Rod, you'll be happy to know that we took another close look at our VOA authorizer contract, and we took the time to review all the key documents, policies, state statutes around charter schools and around WLA. Then we looked at refining school systems as we get bigger and set some goals personally for each of our admin team members that we can hold each other accountable to. So I think really productive. Next week we have a little bit larger admin team meeting start. We'll review some of this and then go into a lot of logistics so that we can, we're prepared for state school to really support our staff better than ever. So I'm excited about all that. Now, do you want good news or more good news? Financial management. You've been hearing a little bit about how we applied for ERC, Employee Retention Credits. It's kind of a leftover ESSERS thing from COVID. And we were projected to get about $364,000 in about December of this year. Well, it looks like we're getting $376,994 because they added on some interest.
Nice.
No, I was like, the numbers don't line up. And that's like, you guys earned $12,000 in interest, so thank you to the IRS. So we did receive one check of $145,994 that came in. Cassidy took it to the bank and was just ecstatic to have such a big check in her purse. And then our second check should be coming any day now for $231. So it's going to get here before December. So that's the good news and good news. And I'm sure Dustin will talk more about that. So we've got that. I should have said we've already spent it, so don't get too excited. A chunk of that will go for the playground, which we've been talking about. I'll let Ryan catch us up on that. And then there'll be a chunk of it as we launch our food service, because food service expenses are reimbursed a year later. So this money is really coming into us at a very critical year as we're doing some of these things. We'll still have some money to spend in addition to those. Human resources, we hired, looks like 4 wonderful teachers today. We're pretty excited about that. We do have 2 teacher positions to fill. And then one of those, or 1.5 of those positions, another 1.5 positions will be for food service. So I'd like to jump down and talk about food service for a minute. Cassidy let me know today that MDE approved us yesterday. Major kudos to Cassidy, who has done a lot of work doing the webinars, you've done 8 modules, 8 of the 9 modules to get us to where we need to be. Became food safety certified, and just has really jumped through a lot of hoops and had to learn a lot. So thank you, Cassidy. So now we have the green light to have our free lunch program starting the first day of school.
Great news.
I know that's great news, but it also is causing me some anxiety because we have to staff for that. We have to have enough paras on board that can supervise lunches as well as, count the kiddos as they come through the line and do all the documentation. So it's a lot to get up and going in 3 weeks, but we're going to give it our best, I think. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cassie kind of formed it a little differently to me this morning. She said, after all the work that I've done, we better launch this the first day of school. Something like that, right? Right? Yeah. So I would like to take a quick minute and before I talk about the schedule and just see what our board members think about that. Is anyone like, well, slow it down and do it right, or yeah, push, make it happen, our parents want it? How do we feel?
Make it happen, our parents want it.
Okay.
We've been talking for a long time with them about this.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
You get one parent vote over here, but I have a logistics question. So how do you guys plan for like the number of lunches or meals? Is it just like, you just do the full Monty ADM?
Mhm.
Or
I love
do
that
we
he's looking at you.
do we send, well,
No,
we've
no, no,
already-
no,
yeah,
no,
I
no.
know. Yeah.
That's the.
Or do we send a survey out and say, hey, who's gonna utilize this, so we have an idea, or
Yeah,
how are we gonna
there's-
manage it?
A couple things, we're still kind of in the works of it, there's a lot to consider with that. With CKC, the vendor that we kind of chose, they help, it's really hard at the beginning of the year because we don't have a base number of, okay, we have 750, let's say, people. Maybe only 500 will want it, maybe 750 will want it, so it's really hard because whatever goes unused has to go in the trash. And then that's our loss. So I think we thought a couple ways of doing a survey, or there's a form that families have to fill out that talks about like free reduced lunches. And so we were kind of talking about, okay, well, they have to turn in that form in order to start the program, and then that'd be a really good way of kind of getting it started, and getting an idea of how many people are wanting the lunch. So kind of making that form be a requirement, or do a survey. But yeah, definitely any ideas would be helpful. There's a lot of logistics that go into it. And then obviously after those first couple of weeks, you can kind of look at the numbers of what's the average and then go from there. But we don't want a huge loss those first 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So that's a little tricky.
But on a typical day, we have 30 kids of 680. We have about 30 kids absent a day in normal. It's not flu season or whatever. So, there will be some sort of an algorithm or formula we'll use. Kutchoff
No, I was just saying, how's the candidate pool?
for,
Well, it sounds like we have the parents that we need to hire to run this. Are we finding good quality applicants, or how's the labor?
yeah, I think so. We just need to get the advertising out because some of our paras, one left to take a job at another, as a policeman.
Right.
in
yeah,
Riverboat, which is really neat. One of the pairs is stepping up to be a full-time substitute teacher. She got her license, so she'll sub here. She'll be an in-house sub with us. But now there's 2 spots. So we're interviewing, and then those people have to have time to give 2-week notice wherever they're working now. It's just that kind of logistics. Doesn't mean that Cassidy and myself and a couple other the office ladies can't roll up our sleeves for the first couple weeks of school and get parent volunteers to come in and help with service. But it just, my mind goes to plan A, plan B, plan C. I'm pretty sure with the rates that we're paying that we'll get a pretty good group. But it's just timing. Advertise, interview, they give notice, now they're on, now we're training them.
Yeah, best case scenario, you're probably talking 4 weeks, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm thinking
to do
4
it right,
weeks.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we've got a yes, a yes, a yes to
Well,
move
as
forward.
a parent, I'm a little biased,
Yeah,
obviously.
that's okay.
But I would just say, without knowing those numbers up front, how quickly can we adjust to those numbers? To say, for instance, we bring in the 750 that first week, and we realize that the numbers are low. Can we adjust on the fly, or I guess how costly is that risk for those first couple of weeks? And if it's not that much, because we know we're going to throw away some food anyway. I mean, we already kind of talked about that previously.
Right.
We don't want to, but it's kind of the nature of it. So, but I would say I would better start it now and then kind of adjust, and things will probably settle within a month or so, probably less.
Can
Figure
you
out
adjust
how
day by day or week by week? How does that work?
Due to planning and menu stuff, I believe they ideally want 5 days notice. They sometimes can work with 3 days notice, and so just being cautious or courteous of that.
And are we asking parents? I'm sorry that I jumped in on you.
No,
Are we asking parents, are they coming every day, or how does that work? Can they have lunch 3 days but not 5, and how does that?
Yeah, it's kind of tricky because they'll have there's a 6-week menu, and so that will be given to parents, and so obviously the kid can decide, okay, I'll have lunch that day, or I'm gonna bring my own lunch, and so a lot of it honestly will be a little bit of trial and error, and knowing, okay, this menu item's not as popular, so for the next rotation you order a little bit less. There's a lot of logistics to kind of think, and I'm welcome to a lot of ideas. Please.
Well, I would certainly say, you guys are probably already gonna do this, but
Yeah.
just to say it, I would certainly send out like a survey
That's a good starting
and
point.
get that on the radar and get parents thinking about it, planning. And then maybe circle back around when it's closer to school, when we gotta get a first order out and see if that number still holds.
Okay.
Because there's gonna be a plus minus every week on who's gonna
Yeah.
eat, and we obviously have to overshoot because we can't not feed.
Yeah, and you
kiddos,
have, there's
so.
options to have like a backup options that they have a certain amount of day hold that you just kind of keep there, so worst case
Yeah.
scenario, you have backup.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's a good idea to get a survey out at least
Can-
initially.
Can we send like a sample menu with the survey? Because I'm sure parents are gonna be wondering like what the meals.
That's a good idea.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good idea. And then,
Can you tell them about open house that CKC is gonna, we're gonna have the forms, we're gonna have the
Mhm.
table, and
yeah, so we're gonna have forms at the table, and then CKC complimentary to them, they're gonna come and serve a few meals,
Okay.
just to kind of help promote it, and.
so some of our
show it
parents
off.
can get, oh, this is good stuff.
Yeah, and that's on
Yeah.
them, which is really nice. They've been an amazing company to work with.
Mhm.
And then I think the menu options, we were kind of thinking, 'cause you can do like a hot vegetarian, a cold, and then a salad bar. We're not doing a salad bar, but, so I think we're thinking like hot vegetarian, due to like our school population, would be a really popular one, and then a cold. And then as we get going, we could have a third option too, but
So as we're more comfortable and we've ironed some things out, we can add the third option.
yeah, that's what we're thinking, kind
Yeah,
of start
that's
simple.
Will we be able to add like nutrition and like allergen information online somewhere? Because I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of parent, or just a place we can direct them.
Yeah, I believe CKC provides us with that, and
Cool.
so I'll just have to discuss it with them more about that. And specific allergies, we would have to provide those meals for them
Yeah.
too.
Then maybe we, if we can, not to put any more on the
No.
plate regarding
Go
this,
for
but
it.
maybe we get that data out first
Okay.
before we send a survey out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That way, people are gonna be like, well, I don't know, because I
Right.
don't have any
Right.
data.
It's like have a survey and
Anticipate some of the
This
questions.
is what it will look like, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll ask
And then like,
CKC.
expect a survey in a week or a couple of days.
Okay.
Vote over,
So what
talk
is,
to kiddos.
so I was just saying, what is the risk of doing it? Is it just wasted food?
Mhm.
What is the-
Ultimately,
what
like
is-
what is the ultimate risk of
Starting.
Starting now, low staff. Let's say we can't
I'd be
get,
concerned about
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah,
a lot.
staff.
Just so staffing
Yeah.
is the main thing.
but can we get our PTO parents? Can we get, some of our office staff, can we do it? I think we can do it.
And I'm maybe major and minors here, but if we
Yeah.
do need to ask for volunteers, is that gonna necessitate that background check or refreshing that? Or do we have a list of people that already have that we can tap?
Mhm.
So they're ready to jump
Yeah.
right into the
Yeah,
game?
we'll get that set up ahead of time, like 2 weeks
We
ahead of
usually
time.
have a
And
lot
then
of
it's training.
volunteers when it's like pizza day. I mean, usually
Yeah.
A lot of parents.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have difficulty getting volunteers, but I do wonder about making sure we've got that I dotted.
The
Yeah.
tricky thing with volunteers is there's specific training that
Mm.
they would need to
Food
do.
certified training.
Food
Yeah.
service.
So they don't have to necessarily be like food certified, but they have to get trained by me by certain things, and then there's certain training videos and other things that they'd have to do prior to.
I think it'd be great to start day one. I just would be very concerned with the preparation for it.
Mhm.
I think we'd be really
Mhm.
rushing and then things might not be handled the correct way.
Absolutely.
But I know our parents really want it. I want it. I'm
I want it, yeah, right.
calling home, when kids forget lunch. So it'd be great for me too, but
Yeah.
that would be my concern.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar where we would get the negative feedback. It might be chaotic a little bit, if that's a good word to use.
Yeah.
But I don't think the kids are gonna say anything, and the parents, like you said, they're gonna be more appreciative of just having to save half an hour every morning or night, whenever they kind of get those lunches together. So that's kind of how I look at it. I don't think that it is probably going to be rocky,
Yep.
and that's why I asked what are the risks, But if it's not a lot of risk, it's not like it's something that I feel like a lot of people are gonna say, you guys, that was a terrible idea. Like, I just don't see folks saying that at all.
Right, right.
I think you're making a good point. If we set the expectations and prep people that they're,
That
that there's
gonna be
maybe
tough.
gonna be a few
This
bumps
is
in the
brand
road
new,
before
we're
we
gonna
get
have
there.
glitches.
Absolutely, okay.
And we kicked around the idea of having like some upperclassmen students helping out as part of a program or some sort of
Not a
something.
bad idea.
I'd have to look
As like a
into,
leadership thing or,
yeah, I might have to discuss with MD and CKC to see if that's
Yeah.
allowed or how that works, because there is a lot of training that they need to do.
sure.
And then
Unless
specific
they're on the
counts,
cleaning side of it, picking up the lunchroom kind
You know,
of
I'm
thing.
just thinking
Cleaning
like,
would-
just
yeah.
simple
That-
tasks that take
yeah.
up bandwidth, where we could utilize that for prep in other areas where, those that are certified and,
Right,
they're you know, they can utilize their tasks and efforts better when the kids can just do the simple stuff that take up bandwidth.
Yeah,
Mhm.
keep
I think
cleaning.
Leah's gonna be excited when I volunteer for that, right?
There you go.
Trooper, she'd do it.
Patrick,
Okay.
we haven't heard from you.
Well, I'm just kind of taking it all in, like what Ryan said, you know, having some of the older students do that, and, you know, there might be some restrictions on that. I just, you know, years ago, and I was just recently I read something, you know, when we had the one-room schoolhouses, you know, the children helped clean
Right,
the classroom,
right.
and, you know, and over the years, of course, that has changed, you know, but that is, just kind of, in Japan, that's
Very much,
very
right?
integrated with the children cleaning, you know, the classrooms and stuff like that. And, you know, I think we've gotten away from that due to you know, regulations and things like that,
Right,
but,
gotcha.
you know, I don't think too many people have gotten hurt with, you know, with a dustpan or a broom or anything, just, you know, it builds character.
There you go.
So, but, you know. yeah.
All right, well, we'll post for our additional pairs, which we're gonna be doing anyway. And if we get a good pool and we're feeling good about it, we're gonna go ahead and proceed. And if we're not getting a lot of responses, then that'll be a different story.
Can I ask a question before we move on to our next item?
Mhm.
So when we're planning this through MDE, what kind of tasks or lists do they give you to plan for this? So for instance, do you know exactly how many people you need as servers? How many people you need preparing, all those types of things?
Yeah, so I have a lot of it over there. But,
For sure, yeah.
So like CKC and MD recommended like 1.5 to 2 food service workers, and they're
Mhm.
mainly doing the food service. They're doing the prep
Mhm.
in the concession stand that we'd have and getting
Mhm.
that prepared.
Mhm.
So they recommended 2. And then what was the second question?
The servers, and just so you know all of the jobs that need to be filled for
Yeah, so
this.
basically you have the food service
endeavor.
workers, and then you also have someone that needs to be keeping tally of, let's say, like Bobby here got lunch, you have to mark from under his name because he's coded a specific way, whether that's gonna be funded through Fed or state,
Mhm.
if they're free reduced or paid by the state. And so you have to be very specific, and it's very important that you're checking that because they'll audit it and making sure that it's getting checked. So it's just very,
So for instance, at my son's school, he goes through the line and then he punches in his code, and then that tells them
yeah.
what the state needs to know and what he needs to pay as well. Is that something that we would have in place too?
So there's either you do a POS system, which we'd have to look into purchasing and doing. I don't know how fast that would be able to get started for the first day.
Mhm.
Or there's manual where you're doing the roster
Clipboard.
and then the pencil paper type thing, and then
Right.
submitting it onto the computer
Right.
type thing. Because you have to daily kind of submit your numbers every
Mhm.
day of how many
Okay.
hours.
But both CKC and MDE have templates and training modules, you know, there's a
Okay.
lot set up.
I'm not too much in favor of starting it right away because I want it done right.
Mhm.
And I know people
Right.
aren't going to complain about being fed. However, as teachers, we know how much this takes away from our classroom to get prepared for it, and then to get back into the classroom after it. If it was a total kerfuffle, you know, then it's like, oh my gosh, what do we do now? And how do we recover from that? So when we do it, I want it done right. And knowing that we have 3 different places they're going to have food from, that's no easy undertaking.
Yeah. And the tricky
So-
thing about, so if you don't start on the first day of school, let's say even you start on the second day of school,
Mhm.
you don't get that reimbursement
Mhm.
check
For
until
2
not
years.
next year, but the year after. So that's the
okay.
one tricky part, is you either
Okay.
start the first day, and even if, no matter when you start, then you have to wait for that
Got it.
reimbursement.
Got it.
That's
Okay.
only
Yeah, and that's a little thing.
time-sensitive thing.
Yep, so we'll spend probably 110,000 or so to pay for 1.5 or whatever with benefits and food waste, you know, there'll be some costs this year. And then next year, we're anticipating about 40 grand coming back to us in reimbursements. So if we don't get that, then it'll be another year of just without a reimbursement. So that was surprising.
Is all the food gonna be prepared in the cafeteria, obviously? No.
No,
Because
actually
I was gonna
prepare
say,
out.
how will the young
Right.
kiddos get their lunch? Because that would
So-
take time.
Theory is, and obviously this is just beginning planning, but
Yeah.
they prepare it off-site, they bring it here, it's in nicely kept heated things, and
Oh,
then
okay.
they, the food service workers will plate it, so they'll have the tray that's already plated, and then for the lunchrooms that are not right in the, by the concession stand, there's these baker carts, I don't know if you, like the tall baker carts where they have the serving, like baking sheets, so they'll plate it, each one holds 60, so each cafeteria would need 2 of those, and then they plate it, put it on there, and you can cover it with those heated like pad things, and then deliver it to the lunchroom, and then they get it in the lunchroom, so you don't have a kindergartner walking
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
I was nervous about.
Right.
So it would be served in the lunchroom at least, so you'd need someone tracking in each lunchroom who's getting the food. So there's a lot.
Okay. Okay, thank you for all the feedback. We'll keep working from our end and see if we think we're ready to go the first day, knowing that that reimbursement is also pretty important to set the school up for the following year. Okay, do you want to talk about the calendar, and then I'll be done? There's some calendar changes, or do you want me to wait for that action item?
I think you should wait for the action item, if you don't
Let's wait for
mind.
the action item.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item 6.3, financial director report from BK. Justin is not here. Okay. I can review those if you want to bring up the colorful pie charts and so forth. We had a very quick finance committee meeting where we're coming to year end everything, so everything is wrapping up nice and neat. Summary of key financial indicators. 724 was in our original budget. We revised the budget twice now and ended at 666 with our ADM. The school's budget surplus in the general fund for the year is $255,630. School is budgeting to spend $7,500 out of the community service fund, a projected cumulative fund balance of $2,263,747, or 29% of expenditures at fiscal year end, which is well above what is necessary for MB. School's proposed revised 2 budget is projecting a surplus of $255,998 at fiscal year end, which will result in an ending fund balance of $2,271,615, or 30% of total expenditures. Projected cash on hand is 97 days of annual expenditures. This is above 45 days, meets the minimum bond covenants. All right. The financial key components at month end, 100% of the year was complete. Cash balance as of the reporting period is $2,025,315 and is down from $2,029,157 in the previous month due to regular accounts payable processing and PTO payouts at year end. State aids receivable 21-22 balance is 0 as of the reporting period. Revenues received at the end of the reporting period is 100% from revised budget 2. Expenditures dispersed at the end of the reporting period is 99.6% of revised budget number 2. Other items, the revised budget was approved at the March meeting and is reflected in the financial report. The second revised budget was approved at the June 2023 meeting and is reflected in this report. This report is based on the preliminary FY 2023 data and is subject to change based on the timing of invoices being processed, as well as an audit accrual entries. The FY 23 audit is scheduled for September 7th and 8th and will be held remotely this year by Abdo Solutions. Are there any other key indicators that Justin usually goes over? Basically, that summarizes everything that we've talked about at our meeting. Kathy, anything else we need to bring up?
I would commend the board. I know some of the members are new, but year after year, we hit our budget targets and end in a very healthy spot. So we're just going to keep up that good work.
Yep, very good. All right. 6.4, Finance Committee Report. Basically, everything I just said is what we talked about.
Good job, Julie.
Thank you, yes. So I would like to make a motion to approve the June financials and July Finance Committee meeting minutes.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the June financials and July Finance Committee meeting minutes. Cassidy, would you take a vote?
Mike Flint,
Yes.
Julie Owes,
Yes.
Brian Schiff,
Yes.
Jillian Squirrel,
Yes.
Nicole Stevens,
Yes.
Patrick Bowman,
Yes.
Rich Washington.
Yes.
The motion passes. We'll move on to 6.5, Governance Committee Report by Rich Washington.
All right, so we met virtually on Thursday, July 13th. And just kind of going through the agenda here. So first item we talked about is the handbook for final review that was in the board packet today. Do we need to make a motion to, so there's a question to the board, do we need to make a motion to approve the handbook in the board meeting, or does that?
I don't know, I'm wondering, Rod, if you could help us with that. Do we need to have a separate motion to approve our family handbook, or can that be included in the motion to accept the governance committee minutes?
Probably makes more sense to do both,
To do both, yeah.
just as easy.
Yeah, okay. We'll add that as a motion, action item.
I mean, do it as a separate motion.
Yeah.
So it's
Mhm.
clearly that this is for the handbook.
That this is when it was approved. Thank you.
All right, so I guess, did anybody have any issues with the handbook? Or anything we need to discuss? All right, I guess I would like to make a motion to approve the final handbook, family handbook for WLA.
I'll second. There's been a motion and a second to accept the family handbook for WLA. Is there any more discussion? No? We'll take a roll call vote.
Mike Flint,
Yes.
Julie Owes,
Yes.
Brian Schiff,
Yes.
Jillian Squirrel,
Yes.
Nicole Stevens,
Yes.
Patrick Bowman,
I haven't read the handbook.
Do you want to, yeah, do you want to abstain?
Yeah.
Rich Washington,
Yes.
All right, the motion passes.
All right, we also talked about, just some brief discussions around school uniforms and some edits to policy 203 that we're gonna push over to August. We had a lot of stuff to kind of get through in July. Also, thanks Kathy for sending that policy 616. I did see it come through, but we'll also review that in August as well. There's two policies up for second review that was in the packet as well. Policies 522 and 524, ready for their second reading. So also a question to the board is, I would assume those two policies would follow the same rules that we did for the handbook as far as making a motion to approve the edits.
Yep.
Would like to make a motion to approve edits made to policy 522 and 524.
22 and 24.
Yeah.
22 and 24.
Okay, all right. There's been a motion to accept the revisions made to policies 522 and 524.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Get a roll call vote, Cassidy?
Mike Flint,
Just quick point of clarification, we're just voting to move it on to the second reading. And then there would be another chance to discuss it?
No, this
No.
is it.
No, this is,
Okay. I'll vote yes.
Julie Owes,
Yes.
Shelby Poole, or sorry, Brian Schiff,
Yes.
Jillian Squirrel,
Yes.
Nicole Stevens,
Yes.
Patrick Bowman,
Yes.
Rich Washington.
yes.
And the motion passes.
All right, we briefly kind of discussed the transgender bathroom policy for WLA. Kathy was doing some research with some follow-up with our attorney, so we'll have some further discussions, just trying to stay ahead of that. Made a few edits to policy 506, section 9, Article C, And that's, I would like to make a motion to enter that into the first reading. Enter that for first reading.
Mhm.
Did you make a motion?
You did, yes.
Yeah.
I can
Okay.
second.
All right.
I lost my thought.
There's been a motion and a second to enter policy 506 into first reading. Cassidy, roll call vote?
Mike Bullen.
Yes.
Julie Owens.
Yes.
Brian Cheek.
Yes.
Jillian Squirtle.
Yes.
Nicole Stevens.
Yeah.
Patrick Bowman.
Yep.
And Rich Washington.
Yes.
And the motion passes.
All right, then we just kind of discuss a new board member, Joe Valentine, which we have a motion today to officially add him to the governance committee. And then we'll kind of continue with the 200 series in our next meeting. We had a bunch of stuff on here for future discussions. We'll see how much we can kind of squeeze into our August meeting. The next meeting will be on August 10th, 6 p.m. Via Microsoft Teams. And then we adjourned at 7 p.m.
Can I make a correction on that? You mentioned Joe Valentine as a new board member. He's not a board member, but he's interested in being on the governance
Committee
committee.
member,
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, that's right. And then, so you'll be asking for, to have Joe appointed to that committee, and we also have Mike and Ms. Stevens that are interested in being on that committee that you've mentioned in here. So I'm not sure if you want a motion for all three of them to be on that at this time.
Yeah, if we can, should we have done that like as an amendment at the beginning to the agenda? Or can we still do it? Because only Joe's name is on the actual motion item 6.5. But I'm fine with that.
Is that something we just discuss when we appoint our board officers as well, or is that just being appointed to the committee?
Yeah, somebody can offer a motion
Mhm.
adding the people,
Okay.
right?
Okay. So I'll make a motion to add Mike Belant and Nicole Stevens to the governance committee members being added to the committee.
Yeah. Along with Joe Valentine.
Joe
right?
Valentine.
Oh, and Joe Valentine, thank you.
Mhm. Yep.
Is there a second? No, sorry. All right, there's a motion and a second to
Further
add.
discussion?
Oh, thank you. Is there any discussion, further discussion? Okay. There's a motion and a second to add Joe Valentine, Mike Belant, and Nicole Stevens to the governance committee. Roll call vote?
Mike Bullen.
Yes.
Julie Owens.
Yes.
Brian Cheek.
Yes.
Jillian Squirtle.
Yes.
Nicole Stevens. Yes. Patrick Bowman.
Yes.
Rich Washington.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, the motion passes. Woo-hoo. Welcome aboard, those committees. On to item 6.6, facilities committee report.
Okay, we met on July 11th virtually. Fences in, if you haven't noticed. I was out of town. I came driving down the road and I'm like, oh, we got a fence.
We got a
Yay.
fence, yeah.
Field was close cut and bagged, whatever that means, patched with topsoil and seeded, drum rolled, and has been watered. When we first were watering that, there was some limitation from the city. I don't know why, because new stuff can be watered, but that was taken care of, so we can water as needed. The one-year building inspection was done. A couple of issues were taken care of. Oil was dripping from the basketball hoop in the gym, so the vendor replaced the motor. Gym floor damage was taken care of. And then in a few places in the building, there was condensation in the duct system that caused some leaks and ceiling tile damage. May look into pushing a used scissor lift because we have some of those high places, but storage may be a problem. Working on gym sound mitigation. Playground pricing is being held. Need to work on the site plan. Dr. Mortensen has that information from the city. And in next phases, we'll have to decide what else is gonna go in that space, like pickleball or whatever is decided. And Ms. Roderick is developing an annual maintenance to-do list that he will present as a draft to the committee for approval. And we adjourned at 5.
And Julie, I just asked Ryan to add, I know Ryan's been doing some work on that sound mitigation, so have you been able to meet with them?
Yeah, so I contacted Garrett at Golden Valley Supply and spoke with his team, just opened a line of communication, so they should be out within a week or two, and we'll do a walkthrough. Also spoke with Dave at Collins Electric, who installed our sound system, and they should be out probably beginning or mid of next week. Still waiting on a call for that, for them to come out and just take a look at what's going on. So is it user error, we just don't know what's going on, or is it actually just the sound, the system's fine, it's just the sound bouncing all over the place in that big chip. So, so we'll have those two come out, and between the two of them, we'll get this whole sound thing figured out. But hopefully we'll have something in the works by the beginning of school. Sound mitigation project closed and completed by then, probably not, obviously, but we'll have some answers, and we'll create some light at the end of the tunnel for us. So
On
get
the
that
sound
figured out.
mitigation, it's kind of weird. It got better at the end of last year, and my classroom is right above the gym, and I'm doing summer school, and I'm above the gym, and it has been really loud. I don't know why that would be. And all it is the Y kids in there, and totally hear it.
Did
And I
that
can't
little,
figure out why that would happen.
did that little piece fall out that they put in to
I
cover
don't
up
know.
that hole?
Yeah, maybe the hole's open again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
So if you talk to them, if you want to mention,
Let 'em
did
know.
something happen?
Yeah, yeah, so I mean, if you guys have anything like that, just email me, so then I'll have a list, and I can prep Ben and Dr. Mortensen when they're gonna come out, and we can try to get those questions answered.
Yeah, when they come out, I'd like to walk around too, so just let me know,
Yeah.
so that I can point out Julie's room.
Yeah, yeah,
If possible, as someone who teaches in there, I would like to be there as well,
yeah,
if I could.
yeah, yeah, I'll just
Put
send
me on
the-
that short list.
Absolutely, I'll send the, whenever I get those times and dates,
Sure.
I'll just send them out, and you guys can disseminate them to whoever you think would want to be there, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. Other than that, Julie covered pretty much everything. Fence install was super easy. Well, I shouldn't say that, 'cause I didn't do anything. Planning it was easy.
Sounds easy.
That sounds easy, yeah.
But the crew was super slick. They communicated very well. And they met their timelines. And so they were a breeze to work with. Playground, unfortunately, it's not going to be obviously installed before the school year, but silver lining is our vendor has been working with us, understands the position we're in.
Honoring our prices.
Honoring, yeah, and has frozen our pricing
Nice.
until we can get everything shored up and aligned and wait for a second green light. So we appreciate that. So.
Mhm.
But that's all moving forward, so.
How long is that frozen?
He didn't say when.
It's not a.
He well, and we told him that, it might be next year sometime, realistically, and it did not seem to be a problem,
Okay.
so, yeah, but time will tell.
You're all about those logistics now. You're just-
Well, it's all in the
It's all
details.
good.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be frozen forever.
Right?
Very
So,
good.
yeah,
All right, thank you.
yep.
We'll move on to item 7.1, approve the revised school calendar. And Dr. Mortensen is going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I picked up on that a little bit. Okay, just some things to point out, that I'm asking for the board to revise the calendar. August 23rd should be light green. Nancy pointed out that I didn't have that the right shade. Similarly, April 1st should be highlighted in green. Those are not a big deal. October 6th, looking to have a staff workday. That's consistent with South Wash. That's one of their workdays, I believe. But just to give our staff a day to look at data right away when we've done those MAP scores. And to counter that, we would add a day instead with students at the end of the year. So instead of the last days for kids being the 4th and 5th of June, it would be the 5th and 6th of June. And that would leave staff only one day at the end of the year to close things out, which this year we had 2 days, and it seemed like staff didn't need 2 days. So I think they could better use a day in October to do data and then one day at the end of the year. Okay, and then adding in December 21st, which is a Thursday, to our calendar. Again, a little more consistent with South Wash. January 3rd, there was a problem with, we were going to have all of our kids be online January 3rd and kind of have a trial day. And then we realized that that means we have to send everybody home with a computer before winter break. So we're just going to do on-site if the board approves these changes. And that's it.
Okay,
So some tweaks, I think, no major.
this is a motion, too, right?
It is.
Yes, okay. All right.
What was the December change you said it was?
Thursday, adding Thursday, December 21st instead of Wednesday. We're out on Wednesday. Now we'd be out on Thursday.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the revised school calendar?
I make a motion to approve the revised school calendar.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to approve the revised school calendar. Cassidy?
Mike Blick,
Yes.
Julie Oates,
Yes.
Brian Sheep,
Yes.
Jillian Squirtle,
Yes.
Nicole Stevens,
Yes.
Patrick Bowman,
Yes.
Mitch Washington.
Yes.
Very good. Our next item, 7.2, to appoint board officers. Board chair, board secretary, and treasurer. Since I'm the seated treasurer, I'd like to go first and just state that I would like to maintain my position as treasurer as possible.
Can you talk about what your role is? We should talk about each officer,
Oh.
what it looks like.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, meeting monthly with the financial, Bergen BK Devian, reviewing the finances, approving,
Large purchases, we
Thank
need
you.
a second signer.
yep, large purchases.
Yeah, you run
Yeah.
the finance committee
Yeah.
meetings
Yeah.
and
I sign off on a few, yeah.
run meetings when other officers aren't present.
Yes, and I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
It's all yours.
So, I've been doing it for the last 2 years plus, and so it's just nice to have some congruency with that and maintain that, so.
Yeah, appreciate that.
All right,
So, let's talk about the secretary and board chair roles and then come back and
Mhm.
see who's interested in any of these roles.
mm-hmm.
What does the secretary do? That was Mandy.
Yeah, Cassidy does a lot of that.
Yeah, I do a lot of what the secretary would do too, so it's a lot of collaborating with me. Mainly making sure, like helping me make sure that the website's up to date, we have the minutes posted. I do the minutes and everything, but I think the biggest thing was doing the agenda and making sure that the agenda was correct. And then submitting that with me and just making sure I have everything I need for the board packet, so just kind of, it's pretty
I
easy.
would say a critical piece of that, from my perspective, is I meet with the board chair and the secretary once a month. It used to be in person, but sometimes we do it just through email, and we lay out this agenda depending on if we have stakeholders or board members that have asked for certain topics to come on. So, you know, have there been any requests? No? Okay, let's set it up. What are the action items this month? So kind of putting that piece together. But like Cassidy said, Cassidy's really picking up some of those other pieces that the secretary has had to do in the past.
Mhm.
So agenda planning is big.
Mhm. Yep. And then
Board chair.
board chair.
Mhm.
Obviously running our meetings and helping to resolve any matters that may come up.
They do come up. So there are the things that I would alert the board chair to that the board doesn't know about. I don't have to, but I let them know if there's mandatory reporting issues. I don't say what teacher or staff member did the reporting or what student or what grade, just to kind of let them keep a pulse on how many of these kind of high incident things that there are going on. They do have access to our school lawyer. We usually agree together. Are you going to call them? Am I going to call them? Is this something we need to call the lawyer on? I don't know. I think the board chair is a really an interesting role. I think there's a lot of stress that goes into, and I think there's a lot of people that directly contact the board chair. They maybe don't, so she has to refer them back to, you really need to talk to the director first. Or you've all seen that there are people that they email the whole board, and it's like, that's not the process. puts you guys all at risk for being in a serial meeting and starting to join in on these threads. So the board chair really kind of holds everything together, I think.
Great.
So you've stated I'm sorry, I'm taking over your meeting. You've stated your interest in being a treasurer.
Yes,
So
I
it's
have
kind of-
I've nominated myself to
Okay.
maintain that position.
But it's kind of tacky, so I'm
Okay,
just gonna
sorry.
say, no, I mean, it's confident. I'm just gonna say it's tacky for you then to say, does anybody else want this?
Oh,
So I'm gonna
apologize
just
for
say,
that.
does anybody else want this? Is anyone else interested in treasurer?
Are these board positions like, like when you sign up to be a board member, it's like a 2-year, 3-year commitment?
Mhm.
Is that the same for,
It's the duration of your elected or appointed term.
is the
Would be-
duration of it?
Oh, I'm
No,
sorry,
it's
we
just
do it
one
every
year.
year, you're right.
One
It's
year.
just
You're
one
right.
year?
Yeah, one
Okay.
year. Right.
Because I was just thinking, like, Shelby just was.
Yep, she's- yep.
So that's why I was wondering,
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
if she's up for.
Okay.
Mhm.
This group doesn't look like they want to give you a run for your money. Anybody want to say, I'm interested in this piece? Okay.
I'm interested in Jolene.
I'm
That
very
was
interested in Jolene doing it.
It's just Miss Tackett, that was so smooth.
All right.
Let's do a motion on
Okay.
that.
Can I get a motion?
I would like to make a motion.
Thank you.
That Jolene retains her position as the board treasurer.
Is there a second?
I will second it.
Third, fourth.
There you go.
There's been a motion and a second for myself to maintain my position as treasurer. May we have a roll call vote?
Mike Bullock?
Yes.
Julie Owens?
Yes.
Brian Sheep?
Yes.
Jolene Squirrell?
Yes.
Nicole Stevens?
Yes.
Patrick Bowman?
Yes.
Rich Washington?
Yes.
Very good. The motion passes. I will maintain that position. Secretary.
Does Shelby not want to be board chair again? Do we know anything
Shelby
about that?
specifically, I think it was in an email, told Jolene and I that she's good with continuing as
Mhm.
board chair.
Mhm.
But if someone else would like to do that, she's happy to defer to them. So if someone would like to give that a stab.
Yeah, I figured we
That's-
should know that before we
Oh, right,
started this
right.
discussion.
Sure,
We don't have a
sure.
secretary to talk about, so that
Right.
one's open.
So,
Let's go secretary.
secretary. Would anyone like to nominate someone for the position of secretary?
Or volunteer themselves.
Or volunteer themselves?
It's easy.
It's not a hard one.
No, it's interesting, at the last meeting, one of the advice that we received, and I can't remember who gave the advice, is new board members, is like, you should probably just be a board member for a period of time before you jump into an office.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
However, we have many of you new people, so.
Mhm.
Right, so the number of new people may make that.
Mhm.
Well, I
Right.
know, Ms. Stevens, you talked to me a little bit about it. Is that something that you think would be overwhelming? I think a teacher role is hard to get super involved in stuff because you have a lot going on in your life.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm tutoring during the school year too, so I
Ah.
don't think it would be the best fit, but if no one else will do it, then I will do it.
Okay, thank you. You do have a lot going on.
Mhm. Any
Any
further
other
discussion?
takers? Ryan keeps winking. I want that in minutes. He keeps looking at me, maybe,
All right.
maybe.
So I'd be working with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
She's really
I'll
hard to
come to
work.
you.
No, not at
I'll
all.
walk upstairs.
It would be great. I think
Okay,
you
I
would
can
be
do
great
it.
with it. Really do.
We'll make it easier. And then you get to help set the engine.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Right. Right. With that, I'd like to nominate Nicole Stevens as our board secretary.
Second.
There's been a motion and a
Man, when it
second
gets rolling.
for
It's
Nicole
not that
Stevens to assume the position as secretary. Can we have a vote, please?
Mike Bullock?
Yes.
Julie Owens?
Yes.
Brian Sheep?
Absolutely.
Jolene Squirrell?
Yes.
Nicole Stevens?
Yep.
Patrick Bowman?
Yes.
Rich Washington?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Congratulations. All right. Then on to board chair. As Dr. Mortensen said, Shelby would be happy to maintain the position unless there's someone else who would like to step up and,
If anyone
No, I
else
think
is
that's the
doing
right play. How long has she been the?
just 1 year.
1 year.
Yeah, I think if she's willing to continue, I'm
I
happy
think
to
her words
support.
were, I will, unless someone else wants to do it, I'm okay with it. It's
Okay.
something like that. She had the unless word in there. so.
Yeah.
If
I would
anyone,
love to make a motion that Shelby retains her position.
I thought you were going to say, I would love to.
I'm scared of being secretary on another board.
Can you make a motion if she's not here? For her to
Yeah,
keep
because we
this?
talked about, that's why Julie and I talked to her through the email ahead of time. Are you okay with this? Let's make sure we communicate that out to the board.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, there's been a motion to nominate Shelby Poole to continue her position as board president. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second for Shelby Poole to maintain her position as board president, board chair, sorry.
Chair? Mhm.
Can we get a vote?
Mike Bullock?
Yes.
Julie Owens?
Yes.
Ryan Cheek?
Yes.
Jolene Skordal?
Yes.
Nicole Stevens? Yes. Patrick Bowman?
Yes.
Rich Washington?
Yes.
All right, Shelby Poole will maintain her position as board chair as well. All right. Congratulations to everybody.
Especially you.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
All right, item 8.1, board communication and future agenda items for reflection.
I have a big ask.
Okay.
And the board can certainly say no. So, but I did talk to Shelby, and she said that I could go ahead and ask the board. I have an opportunity to go out east with my daughter-in-law, August, the week of the board meeting. And I'm wondering if the board is all right with moving the board meeting from August 24th, which is a Thursday, to August 31st, which is a Thursday. And if that really upsets your lives, I certainly understand. So I know it's a big ask.
Works for me.
I was gonna be out of town, so that works for me.
Oh, where are you going to go? I forgot.
The Baltic, like Estonia, Latvia, Sweden, Denmark. Yeah. So I wasn't gonna be here, so I could be here.
So that could
Okay,
work, okay.
So run the dates one more time.
Not the 24th, but the 31st.
You're not saying you cancel your trip.
Google Calendar says.
No, I wasn't gonna be here for that board meeting, but I'd be able to be at the 31st
next one.
meeting. So that's what I'm saying, it worked better for me.
So it helps too.
Okay, do we need to make a motion on that then? Or is that
I don't
just
know
a
if you've heard
housekeeping?
everybody.
Oh, everybody?
Is that a problem?
It's too late.
Everybody get their Google Calendars.
Right.
I'm so sorry.
Open house is the night before.
Mhm.
And I just put out board meetings in my
Works for
phone.
me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Works
have
for
no,
you?
no conflict for me.
Mike?
I think
Okay. Sounds like you can
Sounds like
maybe
we have
vote
a-
on that.
okay.
There's so many action items in, that I don't want to miss the meeting.
It's 31st.
But the action items should go quickly. There are things to motion on for VOA and MDE reports that you'll have reviewed ahead of time.
Mhm.
All right, if you could,
Okay.
a motion to change that.
I'd like to make a motion to change our next regularly scheduled Board of Directors meeting to Thursday, August 31st, 2023.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to move the next regularly scheduled meeting to August 31st. Is there any further discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call vote?
Mike Bullock?
Yes.
Julie Owens?
Yes.
Ryan Cheek?
Yes.
Jolene Skordal?
Yes.
Nicole Stevens?
Yes.
Patrick Bowman?
Yep.
And Rich Washington?
Yes.
All right, the motion passes.
Thank you very much, I really appreciate it.
Any other items for further reflection?
I had a question, I guess. So currently I'm the interim governance committee.
Right. Wouldn't get too attached to that word interim.
So can we just, do I need to make a motion to actually make me the governance committee chair today, or would I
That's
do
good
it?
that's good to hear.
I like it.
Nice.
So can I make a motion now? Or do I need to wait till the next meeting?
I
That's
don't
my
know,
question.
Rod, I feel like we're,
What's the question?
can we add them, well, go ahead, Rich,
You
speak
want
for
to be the
yourself.
governance committee chair?
Yes.
Yeah, we
I think
kind of
you can
don't
do that
have
at the
to.
governance committee, I think.
That's what I thought.
You do it
At the
Is
committee
that the
meeting.
committee meeting?
Yeah,
Okay,
yep.
all right,
Good to know.
Good to go?
good to go.
Awesome, awesome.
Fingers crossed.
Yep.
Well, with that, is there a motion to adjourn our meeting?
I will make a motion for adjournment.
Thank you.
Second.
Patrick's like, yes, yes.
Yeah. I was just gonna add something, that's all right.
Oh,
I had put my name down to be on the facilities committee.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
We'll catch up with you then at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Very good.
Mhm.
Thank you, Patrick.
Awesome. We need more people.
Yeah, we do need people.
You
so
need
that's
somebody
great.
to, run a broom or, haven't hurt myself lately.
There you go.
I'm I'm hands-on practical guy.
Okay.
I noticed there was a tree out here leaning at the last meeting, so must be did they have plant new trees out here last year? Or?
No, it's probably just wear and tear of K-1, 2 kids
Pushing
out
on.
there.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's the animals climbing it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. We've had a motion and a second to adjourn our meeting. Any further discussion? All right, we have a vote?
Mike Bullock?
Yes.
Julie Ellis?
Yes.
Shelby Poole? I'm sorry, Brian G.
Been called worse, yes.
Julie Scorrell?
Yes.
Nicole Stevens?
Yes.
Patrick Bowman?
Yes.
Rich Washington?
Yes.
Very good. Our meeting